Before we start, I need to be honest with you about what this list actually is. This is not a jump scare list. This is not a list of films with impressive gore effects or clever monster design. The films on this list are disturbing in the way that stays with you. The kind that you finish and sit in the quiet for a while afterwards. The kind you find yourself thinking about a week later, unprompted, while doing something entirely ordinary. Some of them were banned. Some were censored. Some were simply released into the world and left audiences sitting in silence in the dark, not quite able to explain what had just happened to them. I've ranked them. I've been careful with what I say about each one. Some of these films are best experienced knowing as little as possible. But I owe you honesty about what you're getting into. 13 films. A descent. Let's go. Number 13. The Father. Let me start here, because this is the most important entry on the list to get right.
Date of birth?
Friday, 31st of December, 1937.
You're living with your daughter at the moment, is that right?
Yes, in my flat.
Anthony Hopkins plays Anthony, a man in his 80s living in his London flat, being cared for by his daughter Anne, played by Olivia Colman. Anthony has dementia, and Florian Zeller, who directed this adaptation of his own stage play, made the decision that changed everything. The film is told entirely from inside Anthony's perspective, which means the audience has dementia too. Rooms change, people who were one person become another. Conversations that occurred earlier in the film are revealed on a second pass to have unfolded completely differently. The flat Anthony is certain belongs to him turns out to belong to someone else. And every time reality shifts beneath him, it shifts beneath you simultaneously. You have no stable ground to stand on because he has no stable ground to stand on. This film is not disturbing in the way the rest of this list is disturbing. It is disturbing in the quietest, most intimate way possible. The way of watching a mind that built an entire life, held entire decades of memory, loved people, made decisions, become unable to hold on to the present moment. Hopkins won the Oscar. It was the right decision. What he does with his face in the final minutes of this film is unbelievable. Start here, because by the time this list ends, you'll understand why it needed to start gently. Number 12. Dancer in the Dark. Lars von Trier made this film and won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Björk plays the lead role, won Best Actress at the same ceremony, and then announced she would never act in a film again. The production was so traumatic, so relentless, so demanding, von Trier's process so completely consuming that she reportedly ate her own costume in protest on the last day of shooting. She meant it. She has never acted in a film since. Björk plays Selma, a Czech immigrant living in 1960s Washington state, working in a factory, going slowly blind from a genetic condition, saving every dollar she earns for an operation that will save her son from the same fate. She loves musicals. In moments of unbearable stress, reality slides for her into song and dance, the one place where nothing can go truly, irrevocably wrong. And then something happens. And then something worse. Here's what you need to know about Dancer in the Dark before you watch it. Von Trier built this film as a machine for producing grief. Every structural choice, the music, the color palette, the handheld camera that keeps you uncomfortably close, exists to make the final act as devastating as possible. I am not going to describe the final act. I will tell you that the last song in this film, the last thing Selma does, is one of the most harrowing moments in cinema, and that Björk does something in it that no trained actor could have done, because what she's expressing is real in a way that training cannot produce. Bring tissues, and then bring more. Number 11. Martyrs. Pascal Laugier wrote and directed this French film, and it is the one entry on this list that sits entirely in its own category. Not because of its content alone, though the content is extreme, because of what it's attempting.
C'est eux, Anna. T'as pu les voir? Ils ont changé, mais c'est eux.
Two young women, a shared trauma, a house in the countryside, and then the film does something in its second act that I cannot describe without removing the experience entirely. What I can tell you is this. Martyrs is divided into distinct movements, and each movement is a different kind of film, a different set of rules, a different emotional register, a different relationship to the violence it contains. The first movement operates as a revenge film. The second is something else. The third is something that has no comfortable generic label. The film was banned in several countries, reviewed with horror by critics who could not find language for it, and described by the small community of extreme horror viewers who consider it a masterpiece as the most fully realized piece of serious horror filmmaking of its decade. Not a film to watch without preparation, not a film to watch at all if extreme content is something you protect yourself from, and that is an entirely legitimate choice. At Cannes, Pascal Laugier reportedly received a standing ovation and death threats on the same evening. That is the film's reputation, and it is earned. Number 10. No Mercy. Korean cinema has built a reputation for delivering some of the most emotionally devastating revenge thrillers ever made, and No Mercy is no exception. Sol Kyung-gu is a forensic investigator. A brutal murder happened. The man responsible was identified almost immediately, but he abducted his daughter and threatens to kill her if he doesn't get him bailed out. Kim Hyung-joon directed No Mercy with a directness that Korean revenge cinema of this era executed better than anywhere else in the world. A tradition that includes Oldboy, I Saw the Devil, and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and into which this film fits without apology. What distinguishes No Mercy is the specific moral arithmetic it forces the viewer to perform in real time. Kim is a forensic investigator, a man who has spent his career inside the logic of evidence, procedure, and consequence. He understands exactly what he is doing. He does it anyway. The film moves at a relentless pace, keeping the tension high from the very first scene. And when the final twist arrives, it will shake you. And I am telling you this with utmost honesty. Rarely discussed outside Korean cinema circles. Completely uncompromising. One of the films on this list that I would be most careful about recommending without a warning. Number 9. Iratta, Indian cinema. A small-town Kerala police station. A murder that is not what it appears to be. And one of the most quietly devastating climaxes I have ever seen.
Sir,
Gate
Two twin brother police officers are stationed at the same police station. One is found dead, 3 gunshot wounds, 3 colleagues with motive. The other twin is assigned the investigation. The film unfolds in a Rashomon structure. Each suspect's account of events is given in full, each one revealing a different facet of who Vinod actually was. And what emerges is a portrait of a man who was, in precise and documented ways, deeply dangerous to the women around him. Here's what makes Iratta land on this list rather than a standard thriller list. The truth the investigation uncovers is not who killed him. It's why he died. And the answer to that question, revealed in the film's final minutes, creates a chain of connection between the characters that recontextualizes every scene you've watched and leaves him with something he will never be able to unlearn. The ending of this film is the specific kind of disturbing that comes from a truth being revealed that cannot be unfounded. While putting this list together, I ended up discovering 2 incredible Indian films. I watched both of them last night, and I am blown away that I'm still thinking about them. The other one I put higher on the list because it is some kind of cinema I have never seen. It's the kind of film that reminds me of Oldboy, not because they're the same story, but because they leave you with that same unforgettable feeling. Just keep watching. Number 8. A Serbian Film. This film was prosecuted or banned in multiple countries. It was seized by police in the United Kingdom. Festival screenings were cancelled. The director received death threats.
Slušaj me pažljivo. Sprema se nešto veliko.
Srđan Todorović plays a retired adult film actor, out of money, who is offered one final, extremely well-paid film that he is told will be art. He does not know what the film will ask of him before it begins. Srđan Spasiović directed this. He said in interviews that a Serbian film is a political film about Serbia, about a country that has been exploited, occupied, and brutalized by forces it couldn't resist, and whose people have had their humanity stripped by powers that defined them as resources. Whether you accept that reading is up to you. What I will say is this. This film cannot be unseen. Several of its sequences are among the most extreme content ever committed to film, and I will not describe them. The film's reputation is fully deserved. It is not a film I will recommend with the same language I use for the others on this list. It is a film you should research before approaching, and approach, if you do, with the full understanding of what it contains. Disturbing does not begin to cover it. Number 7. Requiem for a Dream. When they showed this at a cinema, the audience sat in silence after the credits rolled. Darren Aronofsky follows 4 people in Coney Island, each of them chasing something. A dream, an escape, a reason. Each of them was destroyed by one thing: addiction. Ellen Burstyn plays Sarah, a lonely widow who gets a call that she might be on TV and starts dieting with pills that turn into something else entirely. And her disintegration across this film is some of the finest acting in cinema history. Her son Harry and his friends are heroin addicts, moving between supply and debt. And the film tracks all 4 of them across a single year, from summer into winter, as everything they have is consumed by what they need. And here's what separates this from every other addiction film ever made. It doesn't lecture you. It doesn't explain. It doesn't editorialize. It just shows you what happens to a human being when need becomes the only thing they are. The final act arrives without mercy. All 4 storylines collapse simultaneously. Jump cuts, split screens, the Clint Mansell score turning inside out, and by the end of it, every one of these people is in a kind of hell that started as a dream. This received an NC-17 rating. Artisan Entertainment released it unrated to avoid cuts. This is not a film you enjoy. It is a film you survive. I watched it once. I've never wanted to watch it again. I think about it regularly. That is the most terrifying thing I can say about any film. Number 6. Happiness. Right, gear change, but not the kind that gives you any relief.
You want a divorce?
Did I use the word divorce?
Said that you didn't.
Did I use the word divorce?
Divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me. Really.
Happiness is a film about suburban New Jersey families. 3 sisters, their parents, and their neighbors. It is technically a comedy. Several scenes are genuinely funny, and it contains a subplot involving a character named Bill Maplewood, a psychiatrist, a father, a Little League coach, played by Dylan Baker. That is one of the most disturbing things a mainstream film festival selection has ever put on screen. I will not describe the Bill Maplewood subplot in detail. I will say that it is handled with a restraint that is, in its own way, more disturbing than explicitness would have been. That Salons forces you to understand a psychology you would prefer to find incomprehensible, without ever asking you to sympathize with it. The film was dropped by its original distributor, October Films, after parent company Universal refused to release it. Good Machine distributed it independently. It remains one of the most debated films of its decade. A film that will challenge your understanding of what cinema is permitted to do. That challenge is the point. Number 5. We need to talk about Kevin.
Can you say ball? 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 But shouldn't he be talking by now?
I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Thank you.
This one asks a question that has no comfortable answer. Tilda Swinton plays Eva, a mother looking back on the childhood of her son Kevin, played as a teenager by Ezra Miller, who has done something unforgivable. The film never lets you settle. Was Eva a bad mother? Possibly. Was Kevin always going to be who he became? Possibly. Does that matter? The film refuses to say. Lynn Ramsey directed this adaptation of Lionel Shriver's novel, and the film's formal decision is everything. It is told in fractured, nonlinear memory, Eva's consciousness moving between before and after without announcement, assembling the picture of what happened and who Kevin was one fragment at a time. Ezra Miller is genuinely chilling here. Not because he's loud, not because he's threatening, but because he's calm, calculating, doing small, terrible things in the precise way that someone who knows exactly what he's doing does them. Only to Eva. Only when no one else is looking. And Eva is falling apart in the present, while we watch everything that led to this in fragments. Splashes of red through memory, violence in the peripheral vision of the story. We Need to Talk About Kevin is disturbing because it refuses the comfort of causation. It does not give Eva a reason. It does not give Kevin one either. It simply shows you what happened and leaves you with the weight of it. That weight does not lift quickly. Number 4. Salò, or The 120 Days of Sodom. Pier Paolo Pasolini completed this film in November 1975. He was murdered 11 days before the film premiere. The circumstances of his death have never been fully resolved. Salò is an adaptation of the Marquis de Sade's novel, relocated from 18th century France to fascist Italy in 1944, the final months of Mussolini's Republic of Salò. 4 powerful men, a duke, a bishop, a magistrate, a president, abduct 18 young people and subject them to a program of systematic degradation over 120 days. The film has been banned in multiple countries, including the United Kingdom, where it was unavailable for over 20 years before being finally certified in 2000. It was seized by police in several countries on release. Pasolini's production company faced criminal prosecution. The film is unwatchable in the sense that the word means something. The sequences in which the 4 men describe their satisfaction are designed to be repugnant. The passivity of the guards, the complicity of the storytellers who narrate and escalate. The final sequence, watched through binoculars at a distance by the perpetrators, is one of the most precise images of detached power in cinematic history. I will not tell you to watch this film the way I've recommended others on this list. I will tell you that it exists, that it means something enormous, and that if you choose to watch it, you should know what Pasolini was trying to say, and why he believed it was worth saying badly enough to say it this way. It is not entertainment. It was never intended to be. Number 3. Maharaja. This film was compared on release, not hyperbolically, to Incendies and Oldboy. You will understand why when you see it, and the comparison holds. A man walks into a police station and reports a robbery. He has had something stolen from him, something that means everything to him, and he will do whatever is necessary to get it back. Vijay Sethupathi plays Maharaja, a barber, a widower, a father, in Nithilan Swaminathan's film that arrived in 2024 on Netflix and immediately became one of the most talked about Indian films of recent years. What makes Maharaja disturbing is not the violence, which is considerable and deliberately unflinching. It's the structure. The film reveals itself in layers, each act recontextualizing everything that came before, and the thing that was stolen and what it actually represents, and what Maharaja has already done before the film even begins, lands with a force that the setup earns completely. Sethupathi, one of the finest actors working in Indian cinema, plays a man performing ordinary calm while carrying something beneath it that has no name yet, in most of the film's runtime, for the audience. When that thing is finally named, the film becomes something else entirely. This is revenge cinema at its most controlled and its most devastating. The final revelation. I cannot describe it in words. Nobody can. I will only say that I sat completely still through it, trying to process what I'd watched. This one doesn't leave you for days. That's not hype. That's a statement. Number 2. Oldboy. Park Chan-wook, the second film of his Vengeance trilogy, the film that made South Korean cinema a global conversation. A man kidnapped off the street and imprisoned in a mysterious, windowless room for 15 years without any explanation. Over the years, he makes several attempts to escape, but every time, he fails. And then, one day, he is released, given a wallet full of cash, a phone, and a question he needs to answer. Why was he imprisoned? Here's what makes Oldboy one of the most formally perfect films of the 21st century. The question is not what you expect. The answer is not what you expect. And the way Park structures the investigation, Oh Dae-soo pursuing the truth with the manic, unstoppable energy of a man who has had 15 years of fury building inside him, means that when the answer arrives, it arrives at full velocity. There is no buffer. There is no preparation. Choi Min-sik plays Oh Dae-soo with a ferocity that the role demands, and a grief that it doesn't announce, but which is present in every scene. The obsession with the truth, with knowing, drives him forward, and the film's understanding of that obsession is what makes the ending so complete. I will not describe the ending. I will say, Park Chan-wook constructed it to be airtight. Every piece is placed. The reveal follows, with total logical consistency from everything that came before. It cannot be argued with. It can only be received. And what it does to you, what it takes from you in the moment of receiving it, is the reason Oldboy appears on this list. Not for its violence, for its ending. For the specific feeling of having understood too late. A masterwork, completely without mercy. Number 1. Incendies, Denis Villeneuve. Before Arrival, before Blade Runner 2049, before Dune, there was this. A film that I believe is the finest he has ever made, and one of the finest films produced anywhere in the world in the 21st century.
Mama. Mama?
Incendies is based on a stage play by Wajdi Muawad, and it follows twins, Jean and Simon, who, after the death of their mother, Nawal, are given 2 envelopes by her notary. One for a father they were told was dead, one for a brother they never knew existed. Nawal's final instruction? Find them. The film moves between the present, the twins' investigation, and the past, Nawal's life in Lebanon across decades of civil war. And it assembles, with extraordinary patience and control, the picture of a life lived under conditions most of its audience cannot imagine. Lubna Ozabal plays Nawal, across decades, across war, across things I will not name. And the performance is one of the great overlooked achievements in acting of the last 20 years. What she carries through this film, what she keeps carrying, and what she carries into the final sequence is the performance of someone who understood exactly what she was making and gave everything it required. It received an Oscar nomination for Best Foreign Language Film. It is, among the people who have seen it, considered one of the great films of its decade. And then it reaches its ending. I have seen a great deal of cinema. I have seen most of the films on this list. I have watched things that were designed specifically to disturb, to shock, to go further than anything before them. And the ending of Incendies disturbed me more than any of them. The most disturbing film on this list. The most disturbing film I have ever seen. The most disturbing film ever made. That's the end of today's list. 13 films. Some of them banned, some censored. Some of them simply honest about human experience in ways that most cinema cannot afford to be. Now, I want to hear from you. Which film disturbed you the most? And is there a movie you think deserved a place on this list? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one, and I do my best to reply to as many as I can. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. My goal is simple, to keep bringing you movie recommendations and lists you won't find anywhere else. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.